Do you worry about having boys running girls' track meets?
I recognize and appreciate the concerns and the frustrations that are expressed. As Commissioner of Education, have had conversations with families who have felt the way you just described it, and families of students who are transgender. So I understand that this is a challenge.
All right, Senator Rand Paul grilling Joe Biden's nominee for Education Secretary Miguel Cardona today about biological male athletes competing in girls' sports. All this after Joe Biden signed an executive order designed to allow equal transgender participation in school sports. And that got a lot of people talking. If this goes forward, what happens to girls and women's sports? Madison Kenyon is a cross-country runner at Idaho State University. She's joined by her attorney, Christiana Holcomb, legal counsel at Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Good to see you both. Madison, I want to start with you. You're part of a lawsuit that's trying to uphold an Idaho law that only allows biological females to compete in girls' sports. Tell us the story here.
Yeah, so I have competed against a biological male in my sport, and in all of the races I've done, I have lost. And from experiencing that, I realized that the biological differences between males and females can't be something that people just don't address, and that it's unfair and it's discouraging to be in that place. And so I joined this lawsuit because I felt like it was the best way for me to get my voice out and let other women know that we have a right to speak up about these opportunities that should be preserved to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Christiana, what's the latest on the case at this point?
Well, the case is currently on appeal, but we are ultimately hopeful that we'll be able to restore fairness and a level playing field to women's sports. Look, the whole reason we have women's sports as a separate category is because there are inherent physical differences between the sexes. Men and women are not the same, and that's highlighted in the context of athletics. So we want to preserve women's sports for future generations of female athletes.
Yeah, Madison, I mean, this is one of these touchy areas, I mean, that the left has kind of dug themselves into here because, they try so hard to be inclusive of everything, but now you start excluding people because of your inclusivity, because now they're going to start excluding women in a lot of ways. Because how are you going to win against, a guy?
Yeah, well, the biological differences, you don't. Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to do, is that we need to level this playing field. It needs to be fair, and we're trying to get there, and we're fighting for that. Yeah,
but Madison, let me ask you this. If a transgender female came up and said, I don't think it's fair that I can't play, whatever, soccer, what do you say? How do you respond to that?
Well, I would just let them know that this isn't about identity. This is about biology. And when it comes to sports, biology determines outcomes. And in order to keep it fair, biological females should compete against biological females.
Okay. All right. Christiana, ironically enough, today is actually National Girls and Women in Sports Day, if you can believe it. The U.S. women's soccer team tweeted this out right here. You can see it. Empowered women empower women. So on National Girls and Women in Sports Day, it's pretty interesting that Biden's education secretary says that he thinks it's a good idea to let biological males into this. How do you think this thing plays out?
Well, it's deeply disappointing to hear the nominee for the Secretary of Education to be saying these types of things. Look, his charge will be to defend the rights of women and girls under Title IX to that fair and level playing field. That's the whole reason we have women's sports as a separate category. So while this is a battle moving forward, I am ultimately optimistic. The American people don't want to see women's sports completely eradicated. They don't want to see biological males dominating the female category. So I do hope ultimately for future generations, we'll be able to restore that fair and level playing field for female athletes.
This could be something that you could see running all the way up to the Supreme Court. This is one of those things, and it could come from a lawsuit like yours in Idaho. You just don't know. But it's an interesting debate. I don't really understand the other side of it, but I get where you guys are coming from, absolutely. And thank you so much, Madison and Christina, for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, take care.